I'm Naomi Miller, Chair of the Shaftsbury Select Board, and I am calling to order this regular meeting of the Select Board on Monday, November 18th, 2024, at Cole Hall. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with anything on the agenda?
No.
First order of business is the minutes from November 4th. Can I have a motion to accept them?
Motion to accept the minutes.
Thank you, Brad.
Second.
Thank you, Martha. Any changes that you think need to be made here?
Not that I saw.
No?
Nope.
Okay. All in favor of approving these minutes as they stand? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. 3-0. Next order of business is the warrants, and
I have three.
thank you to Martha for doing those.
I will take them however you'd like to give
I will
them to me.
explain them.
Oh, you're going to explain them. Okay.
First one is the invoice.
Okay, so we've got check warrant number 25013 for the amount of $71,818.83. Can I have a motion? I don't, I just read things, but can I have a motion?
I actually am not sure if I can move.
I will make a motion to accept
I will second
those.
that. Okay. I'm like, I can't recall. That's true, because you're the chair. Robert's Rules moments. All right. So we have items over $1,000. We have $2,388.12 and $1,233.83 to GA Bow Fuels, which I'm assuming is gearing up for all the things that are coming for.
The heat is going on.
Yes, winter is coming. $9,749.22 to Casella Waste Systems, assuming that's for our transfer station payment for the month. So expensive. $3,036 to Chemung Supply. I don't know what that one's for. What's Chemung?
I think it's the name of the place. I can look at the
Oh, okay.
invoice. But it is for the snowplow blades.
Oh.
Because hashtag winter is coming.
Okay, love it. $5,450 to Innovative Surface Solutions, gravel, salt,
calcium
all of the
chloride,
things. Yep, for the roads. $3,117.42 to M&T Bank, Wilmington Trust, as well as a $10,943.17 to M&T Bank, Wilmington Trust.
I know what those are. I just can't find them on the page. Those are it's the water bond payment,
Okay.
both of them.
All right. $4,835 to Monument Electric, assuming that's for our delightful.
Well, it's for moving all of the electric wires upstairs. And I want to ask the select board's approval to take it out of the ARPA funds. It's coded that way right now, but it could be changed to any fund. So that's why I have the asterisk next to it.
Okay.
Since it's the improvement of Cole Hall.
Yep.
Preservation of, so the second floor can be used.
Yep. Okay. $1,328 to Myers Automotive.
Oh, there it is. Tires for the Ram pickup, DPW.
Okay. $7,750 to Nemrick,
That is for the listers and
getting ready for appraisal stuff, I'm assuming.
assessment services for November and the web data hosting, the yearly fee.
Okay. $2,658.64 to Northeast Municipal Principal.
East Municipal Principal. Oh, here it is, signs.
Signed.
Yeah.
What kind of
Mike had to buy
signs?
all sorts of signs, stop
Oh.
signs.
Oh, I
road
see.
signs, Speed limit signs.
Road
you name it.
signs, okay.
Replacement of
Replacement of
name
things that
signs.
have
Road
gone.
There were a
name
lot that had
signs, yeah.
faded around
That
town
makes
as
sense.
well.
Okay. Hopefully that will help. $1,034.47 to O'Reilly Auto Parts, assuming for trucks
Truck
and
parts.
other things. $2,082.96 to Peckham Industries,
That's
assuming for gravel things.
Yeah.
$1,164.50 to Uline.
Those are for election supplies, and that was covered by an election grant.
Okay. Coming down. And $3,030.94 to Woodard Equipment Company LLC.
Truck equipment.
Okay. Right. Most of these, the rest of these look very self-explanatory. How about $200 to Crosby Guetti?
Oh, that's our cleaning lady.
Oh,
Yeah.
lovely. All right. Any discussions?
No?
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. So it passes 300. Then we have a water warrant, number 1, for the amount of $369.08. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Brad. I'm going to second the motion. Second by Martha. Any discussion?
No.
No.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Pass that along. And then we have, oh, thank you. Check warrant,
That is
One?
the last payroll warrant that Naomi already signed
got
because
it.
it wasn't prepared for the last select board
Okay.
meeting. But we don't have this week's
and
payroll because Tiffany's still waiting on some W-4 information from some of the poll workers. And she'd like to have a complete list before making the warrant.
Okay, so this is check warrant 25012, and the total was for $25,020.46. And I'm assuming we already voted on this one, or did we not? You signed it, but
I don't think.
Because it was after the select board
was after
meeting.
the
It
select
wasn't
board,
prepared,
okay.
So you just
Yes,
came in and
I came in and
looked
signed it, but
over.
we do need to vote on it.
Okay, so I'll take a
You guys
motion
have now
then.
had a chance
So
to vote on it,
moved.
so-
Okay, and I'm going to second that, so moved by Brad, seconded by me. Any discussion?
No.
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 300. Excellent.
Excellent.
Did we do it?
Sign things. Thank you.
Excellent,
Beautiful, thank you.
yes.
Okay, any announcements?
No.
Wow, okay. And now the wonderful moment of public comment?
That would be me. Had an interesting voting experience at the town garage.
If you wouldn't mind just for the record saying. your
Frank
name.
Kenny Shaftsbury. There we go. Walked in, my Trump hat on, talked to Marlene, we laughed and we talked and this, not a problem. Turned to the left of the desk because I didn't bring my absentee ballot. Filled out the paperwork. If you don't, absentee ballot, you're using that, you do that. With Mr. Lilly, not a problem. Went over to the tables, got checked in, not a problem. I'm over there voting in my cubicle. And somebody said, you should take that hat off. I took it off for a second. I said, you know what? Screw that. I didn't take my hat off. So while I was voting, the town clerk came over, Marlene. I like Marlene. She did a very stupid thing, but that's okay. Ripped the hat off my head. Now that's assault, folks. You don't do that. That's very, very stupid on her part. Again, I like Marlene, but I don't tolerate that stuff because maybe somebody's feelings are hurt. I could care less. I don't know how many voters I swayed to vote for Trump. I don't think any, because the state of Vermont has always been Democrat, and that's fine. But that doesn't bother me. If Kamala Harris got elected, I'm not going to cry and have a fit and everything like some of these people do in this state, actually the whole Northeast. But my point is, now she says, I know better, or don't ever do it again. I didn't do anything to her. It's because whoever told her to go over and do that, and hopefully that's Marlene. Come on in, Marlene, join the party.
Hi.
And they did that to her. You don't understand what I just said, do you? In other words, she said, don't ever do that to me again, correct?
Don't ever wear anything.
That's not the point. I'm going to finish. You're going to be quiet for a second, only because I'm here for public comment and this is my turn. If you would like to answer that, fine. I have no ill will against you, Marlon, but what you did was wrong. And you should never, oh, yes, it is. You better find out about that. Anyway, to make a long story short, got up there, you can have your hat back when I leave. And so I got the hat back. Now I showed her where I was parked out there. She said, you parked there? I said, yeah, it was in the handicap. Okay. I said, and just, I wanted to put a little bit more dig. I said, look at my tailgate. I had the big Trump sign on the whole back of the tailgate. Well, she didn't like that either. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
It's both
I have the freedom of speech and freedom of expression. If you don't like it, I could care less. I don't care. I know. Let me finish. I'll debate it with you all day long. Doesn't matter. You know, Vermont's been stuck on stupid for years. A lot of these northeastern states are. And you want to censor people. Bennington Banner has tried to censor me a few times, and I've called them on it. You're not going to censor me. Ain't going to happen. But anyway, that's the way it is. Now, your rules, now Marlene says I should have known better. I did know, however, because I ran for enough offices in this town, in Bennington, that you can't stand by the door anymore. That's what I was aware of. But to come in with a hat that had Trump name on it, come on. You got to get a life, folks.
As I understand it, that's a federal regulation in polling places.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. It's now only in 22 states, not all polling places. I looked this stuff up. So, you know, I think you got to have a little bit more tolerance because I wore a hat. And come on, Marlene, you know better than that. I served on the school board with you.
I know.
Well, all right.
That's how I know you know better than that.
No, I didn't know you couldn't wear a hat on in there.
Can I?
Let me finish, please. You can absolutely have your say. I mean, you're the chair of the board.
No, I don't need to have a say.
Okay, but my point is, that should have never happened.
You're right. It
It shouldn't have. There's a way. I've had enough people work for me, and I've had to hire and fire, but I've never done that to anybody, to make a scene at a polling place.
Fran, I was following the law. It doesn't
Okay,
matter.
well,
You're not the only person that
I
came
think I
in.
would like to intervene here and ask, and Marlene, ask you not to defend what you did because you were following the law,
Okay.
as the rest of us understand it, and
Yes.
I don't think you need to.
Okay.
Okay.
I want a copy of that law.
Mr. Kinney has the right to be expressing his opinion,
Yes.
and I think
Right.
we should let it be there.
Yeah. Now, to add insult to injury, and this is what really ticked me off. Shelley Stiles called me the very next day in the morning. Well, we have a problem. Somebody says there's something wrong with your structure. What the hell was that all about? Somebody told her to do that. I'm not stupid.
I know nothing about your structure.
Well, yeah, somebody said something.
Nothing to do with that.
So I want to know, and I want you, this board, to investigate it. Because there's something funny. The very next day after that, at the polling place, very next day. Again, there's something wrong. I didn't call Shelley Stiles back. It was a dead issue to me as far as I'm concerned. She didn't, I don't know what somebody said. I'm probably never going to find out who said it or who did it because they ain't got the guts enough to tell me to my face. So that's my spiel.
Okay.
And you should change the law in this state. It really is. I mean, you get.
Obviously, we don't make state law here.
I get
so-
that. I
But
get
I
that.
hear you, and thank you for sharing that,
Okay.
that thought and speaking for other people who feel the same as you do.
I hope there's other people than just me.
And I want to ask my colleagues if you have anything you want to say.
So one of the things that is on the polling station when you came in the door, the front door into the polling station, there is a very clear sign that says no political buttons, no political
Didn't see it.
persuasion, things, but it is on the door and it is for every
How big's
election.
that
I
sign?
have been working, I think it's an 8 by 11 sign that
You
is
need to
there
make it bigger, and
forever.
I'll tell you why.
Yeah, but I just wanted to let you know that that is the case.
I appreciate that.
And I've been working as a poll worker for many
Okay.
years, so it's always been
In
that way.
Bennington,
Yep.
I had my car parked on one of the side streets in Bennington. Got sick, couldn't take the car home. So they said, well, there's signs there, you can't park there, and there was a snow sign, even though it was 90 degrees out, no snow or anything. So I went to the police station, I said, well, you know what? Where's the signs? I didn't see them, and they were tiny. They were probably about 8 by 11. Now, if you notice the signs in Bennington around, they're probably 2 by 2 or whatever. They're bigger, so you can see them. That's just an example. I think you ought to post it in the banner, or you should post it on this building, that you can't have that. Now that I know I can't wear a hat with a name or a pin on it, which is pretty stupid, but that's okay. I can follow the laws and the rules. And you really ought to think about changing all that stuff.
So that would be something that you would have to send up to your state legislature, because
Yeah,
that's
well,
where
I know what we have for
yeah,
state legislature. It's a waste of my time.
But certainly, I mean, if you have a concern, I would say David Durfee is the first person to talk to you about potentially talking about
Yeah.
that change
Okay. Well,
for things, because we don't have the ability
I
to
get
change it
I get it. I
here.
just
Thank you.
felt I should
But we do
voice
have,
my concern.
Yep.
we do have a space, your town has a space for you to express a concern. So
Yeah.
thank you for having done that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will get a statement from Secretary of State's office and email.
With that, I'll walk downstairs with you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, treasurer's report.
Okay, let's take a look at the cash flow first, please.
We're very crooked. The camera's
Our
crooked.
camera. We're off kilter. Surf's up. Surf's up.
Crooked to a treasurer.
Oh,
So the big number there is the taxes. We've had a successful tax year. I started looking, so you see I took in 3.7 million in the first 12 days in November. I was not happy about that due date. I was worried it was going to throw some things off. People they got used to the 10th, or they got used to Friday, and having it the day after a holiday, I didn't think it was a good idea. I was actually worried about it, but I've been taking a running look at the final delinquent numbers, and it looks like they're actually in line with previous years, so I was being a little alarmist. We got a big flurry paying online. Thank you, people, for paying online. That's a way of rescuing when you think you're too late. You still have online payments all the way through. I went through 11 p.m. or something this year. So that's, if you realize that it got away from you, that's always an option. I think there's very little else to talk about. If anybody has any questions about, that's the receipts part, we can look down at the bottom.
what is hold harmless?
And state pilot. I'm like, those are not normal ones on the list.
Pilot is payment in lieu of taxes. That's
Oh.
a payment we get, but there's a federal one and there's a state one where they, rather than having paying property tax or
I
other
see.
kinds of taxes, it
Okay.
comes as a direct payment through as an ACH. Hold harmless, I don't even really know what that is, but it's in the same category. It's, Gina might know better, but it's another state payment that comes in automatically.
Thank you.
Look at the bottom half, very little going on. So we can see that our cash position is, if you slide down a little bit more, there you go. Very, very exaggerated right now because we have not paid the schools yet, which will happen very shortly. So there's the total tax receipts number there, you see. So that's mostly in both October and November. We took in over 6.6 million. So the payments are strong. I don't project it to budget in the middle of the month, so we don't have that to look at, but we will start having a pretty good idea of how the year's shaping up once, we get a couple of snowstorms under our belts. So then we can start projecting it, and it'll be more meaningful. Want to take a quick look at the reserve funds. The big number you see there is a truck that Mike auctioned off, brought in that $9,370. So that's nice. That goes into the equipment fund, just for future purchases. The other number, is there any money in? I think that air pack reserve number should have been in water. I think I need to take a look at that because I don't think that was really there. So that's my mistake. But the water bills, as you know from the water warrant you just signed, water bills are out as of today. That was but I got to take on after finishing up the taxes. So we'll start seeing water payments coming in very shortly. While we were on the topic of delinquent taxes, there is one property that, as of right now, is going to go delinquent if we don't do something about it. That's a little hint about something coming up later in the meeting. But that's just a little
A teaser.
A teaser. Yeah. So that's all I've got, unless you've got any questions about any of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I'll slide back for one sentence, and then I'll slide back.
Yeah, it's coming up pretty soon. Okay. The DPW report.
I have the DPW report, and it's one line. They are preparing for winter.
Winter.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's why they were buying so many pieces, parts, and plows and things. So.
Okay, so 43 Buck Hill Road, tax abatement. Did you want to speak about that?
Yeah, I mean, could you just read what I wrote? Because I don't want to misspeak, because it's
Yes.
such a complicated,
We
silly
have it written down
situation.
just to make sure we have.
So
Okay.
this is what.
The town of Shaftsbury acquired 43 Buck Hill Road in April of 2024 after the grand list was frozen. When properties change hands after the grand list is frozen, the eventual tax bill for $3,290.38 continues to reflect the name and obligations of the owner of record at the time the file was frozen. This is completely normal and happens dozens of times a year. The only thing that made this transfer unusual is that upon the transfer, the property went from a taxable to an untaxable entity. The town sought advice from our external auditors and the VLCT. They agreed that there was no logical or legal way to pay these taxes. Abatements are only permitted under specific conditions, none of which applies here.
So in other words, because it belongs to us, there's no reason for us to tax ourselves.
Right, because the taxes disappear.
And
And it was predicted, it was predictable, it was handled in the closing. The only thing now is to make it official that we are not going to bill ourselves for the taxes. And what I would love to have coming out of this meeting is you to direct me to make an adjusting entry in NEMRIC to bring the taxes from that 3,200 something to zero. And that will remove it from the delinquent list where right now it would appear. And and this will not be a problem going forward because as of the new grand list, it will of course be a non-taxed entity. So that's what I'm looking for, the motion.
we need a motion to make an adjusting entry in NEMRIC to change the tax due on 43 Buck Hill Road to zero.
So I make that motion and the direct statement that Naomi just
so moved.
said. Yes, I move it.
will second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So everybody's clear on why this happened, right?
Yes.
It's not,
Yes.
it wasn't an oversight, it wasn't an error, we can't call it that. It's just a pure function of timing.
Yes.
Okay,
Great.
yep.
Done.
Exactly. Glad it's taken care of. It's
Great,
been
thank you.
sitting out
Take it
there.
out.
And I
The
will
list.
make
Thank you.
that adjustment tomorrow, first thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, discussion of the SES generator. Paula.
Okay, so I've been looking into who in the town of Shaftsbury has generators as far as municipal buildings. And the school does have one, and this came up again last week because they were out of fuel. So the questions came up, who provides the fuel, who does the maintenance, and we get,
Didn't we also get a bill for maintenance?
we got a bill, and then we got a bill for like, the maintenance, but also the fuel, which I passed on to the elementary school. So at the same time, we're working on expanding the LEMP, our local emergency management procedures, and it is in the town's best interest in an emergency to have that generator working. And one of the reasons it's not able to be stood up as a Red Cross shelter is because it doesn't have an alternate means of energy. However, it does. It has the generator. So I would like to have the select board consider continuing to maintain that as far as maintenance agreements, just to keep the thing running. Kind of a partnership with the elementary school, and I spoke to the principal, what's today, Monday? Late last week, just to make sure that we were always the ones who maintained it, but I think that was questioned maybe a little bit before I took the job on. But I think it would be rather short-sighted for us not to have every generator we can well-maintained in the event of an emergency.
I feel pretty strongly about that too, that we definitely need, we have a paucity of shelter in this town in the event of an emergency, and I can't quite remember, although I think I was here, I can't remember why the decision was floated or made to cease to maintain that generator. Do you happen to remember?
I think what I recall was that we were thinking about not maintaining it because we had found out that Shaftsbury Elementary School is not currently a shelter that the American Red Cross, that fits all of the requirements of the American Red Cross sheltering policy. And so therefore, we were expending, I don't recall how much money, but it seemed like
Different
they were
plans,
looking
different
at,
price points.
maybe a risk pro-con list of kind of why it was still being done if we weren't getting any kind of thing out of it as far as kind of having an emergency shelter. And
Okay.
I still am not clear. A generator source is important for having an American Red Cross
Paula
shelter,
has the answer, I
but
think,
yeah.
to some of this.
They
I
have
know where you're
other
going, that's
things.
why I'm like-
Yep, perfect.
So I
Go
reached
for
out
it.
to Paul Dansereau, and I said, what are the next steps? Because is this the only reason why that can't be stood up as a Red Cross shelter? And he
Paul
said,
Dansereau is our emergency management coordinator.
He would recommend the next step being the Red Cross to contact them and conduct a joint assessment of the location for use as a shelter to identify shortcomings or deficiencies with the town of Shaftsbury as well as the SVSU Elementary School District personnel. Following that, would recommend a formal MOUs be drafted between all three parties outlining specific personnel roles and responsibilities pertaining to opening, staffing, and supplying the facility for use as the shelter. So I think maintaining it is one thing, and then everything that comes after is certainly more involved. Who would staff it in an emergency? Who would be responsible for getting the supplies in their cots or whatever? But it's certainly worth a conversation, further conversation, given they need to be prepared in an emergency.
Wasn't there some discussion about paying for either solar or a new generator or something through the money that was bequeathed to us?
Yes.
Yes.
So is this in the purview of that?
sticking point, it is, except that we've then come to understand that we don't own the building.
We own the land that the building is on as the town? But the Shaftsbury's will, is that what you're saying, that we,
We don't own the building.
okay. Okay. Interesting. And so therefore, we still couldn't erect some kind of solar generator in a spot on the property that then could feed into the building? That option isn't there.
I guess we could.
I don't really know much
mean,
about
that would
solar
have to be done.
generators, so.
That would have to be worked through with the school. I think it'd be a more complicated thing, but it's a possibility. Yep.
I think this could definitely be tabled, and as we move forward, I was thinking after the holidays to put an emergency committee together.
A review of the LEMP.
A review of the
committee.
LEMP and making it sound and making it the long form and just making sure we're prepared, and then having, inviting all the parties, all the stakeholders, I guess, for lack of a better word, and to figure out what we need to do. And if it will work, I think we should do whatever we can. Because if something happens, you're going to go all the way into Bennington. That's kind of far.
Crazy.
To get to shelter, God forbid anything happens.
Right. I mean, if we're going to take people to Bennington, we're going to need to get vehicles to do that with,
That's
for
right.
example, and insure them
That's right.
appropriately and keep them in running order. And, it's quite an undertaking. Okay, so
That maybe is something to bring up when we stand up the LEMP committee, to maybe look into that, because,
Yes.
I mean, if we could get a solar-powered generator that pushes us in a direction probably of cleaner energy, as opposed to what I'm assuming is a
solar-powered
gas.
batteries.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
as opposed to a gas-powered, I'm assuming that's what this is, generator.
Yes, it is. It is.
I mean, in fact, if that money in that was bequeathed to the town, or that comes to the town, weren't enough to do the solar panels as well as the batteries, we could simply spend it all on batteries, because you can have batteries without having solar panels.
Right, right. So it might be worth, looking into. And
All right, so we want to, as an outcome of this, just put it on the list for the discussion in the LEMP committee,
think so,
which will be stood up in January.
I believe so. I think that's the best time for it. And in the meantime, should I go ahead with the maintenance plan for one of those? The least expensive one is $892, and the most expensive one is $1,454. I will have to look into those, and I can get that information to you in the next select board meeting.
sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. So Paula, this is your night, huh? The CCDC, the Community Center Development Committee, has an update and then a proposed addition to the membership. I will talk about the latter, but Paula was designated
I am
to
the
talk about the
co-chair
former.
of the CCDC. Okay, I've typed this up just so I can stay on points here. Since the forming of the Community Center Development Committee, the CCDC, our goal has been to create a plan for a community center on the campus around Cole Hall based on the results of the community survey. Over the months of our research and imagining, serious problems have come into focus with Cole Hall due to the bottom floor leaking and mold issues. The issues have become more complex, and it has become more difficult to create more office space to accommodate our staff. Meanwhile, the CCDC has spent many weeks exploring different modalities. Stick build and modular build. We've actually had guest stars come and talk to us about these things, and really getting into the research and wanting to do the best thing and make the best recommendation, of building a community center and preservation and uses for Cole Hall. And it has become clear that we would need to spend more than we have if we are to preserve Cole Hall, which is actually a very important thing to be doing. All that said, now we have begun to look into the possibility of purchasing the former Shaftsbury Medical Building to be used as municipal offices plus other uses for the community. This is very preliminary, and the CCDC hopes to make the final recommendation about a community center in the very near future. To aid our efforts, we are lucky that Ben Benedict, a resident of Shaftsbury, whose resume you have, has come forward with an offer of his assistance as an architect, and he is willing to serve on the committee. I'm asking the Select Board to consider him for additional membership in that role.
She did my part.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's great.
You can expand.
You said it better than I would have, yeah. Mhm. So what is the vast assembled mass of select persons? Think about this. Ben Benedict served previously on the Facilities Committee for quite a lot of years and was part of a period when they were designing a different use for this space than what eventually happened here. But he's an architect with a lot of experience in old and new structures, and he has offered to give us his professional time as well as to serve on the committee. And it seemed like it'd be a good idea just to have him on the committee as an architect. But that means changing the structure of the committee, which was very specifically designed to have 2 members of the public and then a representative from each of the relevant bodies, the Recreation Committee, the Planning Commission, and the Select Board.
Yes, and members of the public.
And members
You're
of the
right.
public and the town administrator. So that was sort of,
And if I could add, what I had said to Ben is kind of more organic with everyone you mentioned, and Marie can attest to this, as much as we've been thinking and we've just been imagining, this is a feat of imagination, right? But our imagination kind of butts into that wall, and then that's where the architect needs to take over and go, this is what can be done, this is what can't be done. Because we can imagine all sorts of things, but we don't know the nuts and bolts. He's good, very lucky that he came forward.
So he has to be a member or a consultant?
well, he could be a member
And
He would like to be a
obviously
member.
as an architect. In other
Yeah.
words, it's structured to have not individuals, but people who have a certain function.
Yes.
And we would
And now
be
we need
adding
one.
the function of architect
As a voting member.
as a voting member.
And so how many people currently sit on the board? I can't recall.
I'm a non-voting member.
Okay,
And
so how many folks?
Write this down.
Yeah, just thinking about, like, for voting purposes, if it's an even versus odd number, if
Marlene.
there needs to be a tiebreaker, or, and if there's a need to have.
Five current, right?
Okay. If that means anything, if we have odd versus even. Sometimes it does, but I guess it's an advisory role, so it doesn't have the same kind of vote as kind of if you were in a select board role or other things.
the
So-
committee is recommending
Right,
the
so I don't think
expenditure
it
of a
would
lot
be-
of money, but isn't making the
Correct, the final decision, so I don't
No,
think.
there were
that-
already 6. I forgot about Zoe.
Oh, so it would be 7. Okay,
Yeah.
so, okay, that's good
I
then.
knew I forgot.
Great.
I think that it is a wise idea and could be very helpful and kind of imagining to road meets, or rubber meets the road kind of moments
Right.
where you can say, oh, this
You
is
can do actual
possible.
mock-ups.
Right,
right.
and that would be, and very lovely that he reached out to offer these services, because I
generous.
can imagine he's been an architect for a long time and has done a lot of things, so I think it's lovely.
Okay, so can I have a motion to so amend the structure of the CCDC so that it includes an architect?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then can I have a motion to appoint Ben Benedict to that position on that committee?
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you very much.
Yes, to Ben.
Ben Benedict, yes. Okay, other business. We do need to discuss, right, Paula, using ARPA funds for monument electric bill?
Yes. And that was already in this warrant. Again, I just had her put the ARPA fund code on there. So what Monument Electric has done, and you'll see the new outlets and some wires over there, all of the whole, I want to say the electric grid, but that's not the right word. The electric components that are downstairs, since we're kind of gutting the downstairs and the servers down there and all the internet, all the fun things, it all has to come up here. So they actually did a really good job. We were here for a lot of it, and most of it's hidden. There was a close call with one of them going through the ceiling, but all was well. It was comical, but they did a really good job, and now it's ready for the next step of bringing it all up, and they're getting RCS in here to get internet signal to the trailer so we can move Marlene out of the basement finally.
Great. And then, should we just review it for the public about who's going to be where? So the zoning
So-
administrator
Zoning administrator and treasurer will be out there.
out in the trailer.
Where it's nice and quiet.
Town clerk will be upstairs.
Upstairs, moving into my office to use the room. Gina, our assessor, will take that office, Melody's current office, and I will take Shelley's office, because I actually need the least amount of space. I'm pretty portable, actually. A few file cabinets and computers, and I'm low maintenance.
So, can I have just a formal motion to expend some of the available ARPA funds
$4,835.
of 8,000?
No, 4,000.
$4,835.
On the monument electric bill?
So moved.
Second?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's 300. Thank you. Any other business?
Have we heard anything about, speaking of downstairs, coal hall demolition work that is going to require removing walls? I know we put out an
Not
RFP.
yet.
Okay.
I think, I spoke to Mike about it this morning, actually, and I said, what's the deal? Because he passed the word along. And this might be a conversation for another time, but not every town does this, but Shaftsbury does this, and they prefer that there's an actual rule, that the contractor has workman's comp insurance, their own workman's comp insurance. Many of them don't, and it's cost prohibitive to have it for small jobs, especially when they won't take that long. So as I was speaking to Mike, I was like, I understand why we have it. And I said, do all towns have it? He said, no, not all towns require this. It could be a detriment to us in cases like this. So But I don't know if it was something that was, it's in our policy, it's in our purchasing policy. So it is a policy.
So this may really mean that we need to just tack it on to the bill from the people who are doing the basement itself, the basement remediation.
Right.
Those companies will do the demo, and they will do the electric rehab too.
Right.
It's just that they are a little more expensive than a local contractor might be.
Right.
Okay.
We have another,
Yeah.
we're not going to be able to move on the basement until we talk to Jamie Duggan.
And we're still, that was my next question
Yes,
to
I've
ask
reached out
about
to him
Jamie.
again, and I will be. I'm like
Waiting
hawking
on
him at
Jamie
this-
Duggan.
I'm like
All right.
hawking him, and I'm like, I'm not stalking you.
If anybody
But he-
sees
he-
Jamie Duggan, bring him to Cole Hall.
Just to reiterate who that is, he is the mason for the state of Vermont who works on historical buildings, and he wants his eyes on Cole Hall. So I want to make sure before we move a wall, do anything, he says, yes, this is the right thing to do.
Got it. Makes sense. Excellent. Thank you for that update.
All right. Any other business? Okay. Review of action items.
Well, we've got the LEMP plan, and we're going to add talking about potentially getting some batteries or potentially a solar generator at some point when you meet in January. And you're going to find out some cost estimates about the generator servicing and get back to us on that. I think that's it.
Jamie Duggan,
Yeah.
again.
Yes, yes. Jamie Duggan is important. Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Thank you, Martha. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourning before your executive session. Is that what you do?
We're not having.
Oh,
We're
no.
not having one. That was sort of an